Hey, Paul Morrow again, back, Smart Financial Lifestyles Profiles, and we're going to be profiling today Ric Miller. Rick is the long-term associate of ours here at Legacy, and of Paul and Linda personally for many, many years. He's got an interesting story, and he's going to talk a little bit about charitable stuff, the world of financial advice, maybe some fly fishing, and all that. And so, just to start off with, hey, Rick.
Hey, Paul.
Let's talk about life and times of Ric Miller and how you ended up on this podcast in 2026, the most unlikely place for a kid from Detroit. Let's have the story.
All right. Well, it's kind of interesting. I grew up in the housing projects of the inner city of Detroit. My parents met at the University of Michigan on the GI Bill, both being decorated veterans of World War II. My dad decided to go to medical school, and we were so poor he couldn't barely feed us. So we were in the housing projects. He managed to get us out of there into a blue collar neighborhood on the west side of Detroit. I grew up there, and I had an interesting background because my father was a GP, general physician, and went broke twice. Part of the reason, and this really gives me a background in the charitable work. My dad found himself running free clinics because we had a background of living in the inner city and people could not pay. And as a result, at about 57 years old, my dad had to close his practice after he couldn't pay his bills and went to work as a doctor at Ford Motor Company. My mother was also a civil rights activist in the mid 60s. So I found myself in civil rights marches, and we have a very diverse ethnic background in our family and friends. So from there, I did go to graduate school, skied for a living in Vail, Colorado in my early 20s. Then find myself in a good graduate school at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, and ended up in corporate finance for many years. I did end up very young, at 30 years old, vice president of one of the largest corporations in America. And things progressed. I became president of some companies, got involved in actually owning a couple companies. And through that, I met some very interesting people. Particularly Ben Cohen from Ben and Jerry's, Tom Chappell from Tom's of Maine, and a number of other interesting people. And I found interesting ways to use our companies to actually do social good and charitable work using some of the profits. And these other friends of mine who are famous in that area really guided me. So my background, and then I ended up helping take a couple companies public. I had far more money than I ever dreamed of. And not knowing what to do with that level of wealth, I had a family meeting with my parents and my brothers. And my mother said the fact that I was sitting there in front of the family, I already knew what to do with all that money. So I set up a charitable trust, and unfortunately gave all the money away. And 6 weeks later found that I was getting a delinquent bill for my mortgage. So I went back to work. But over the years, we've done some fascinating work with that money. I look at two different philosophies for charitable giving. Bill Gates really has talked about his life and how his thought process was to make as much money as possible so that he could then give money away later in life. And that's worked well for Bill and Melinda. For myself, I got worried about family history of heart attacks and maybe not making it so far that I would have that money. So I decided to give as I go. And that's basically what's happened.
So
Now,
interesting, Rick, and I wanted to just cut in to say that I actually sort of listened to you talk about this over the years because it's amazing how much you can do with a small amount of money for targeted giving. Now, I will tell you, of course, the Bill and Melinda Gates thing is wonderful, and Warren Buffett giving away his chunks of money is wonderful. And we see people here in the Northeast where I'm talking to you now, they give hundreds of thousands of dollars to schools to get a building or to get a chair named after them or something like that. And those things are okay. It does feel a little bit like if you're giving money to Harvard that has a nearly $1 trillion endowment, it's kind of bringing sand to the beach, It's a kind of a funny thing. But I just finished a discussion with a foundation that helps kids finish their last 18 months of school. And for $2,500, which is the average amount of money they need to finish, those individual kids end up generating about $2.5 million more income over their lifetimes. They pay more taxes, they raise families. And so it doesn't take a ton of money to make a really big difference. I mean, if your goal is targeted giving to certain individuals rather than kind of adding it onto the pile at Carnegie and BU and all this. I mean, and they all have some of my money. I have to admit, I'm very fond of Trinity and Northeastern and American College and all these people that were involved in our family along the way. But I'm also really intrigued with how much you've done for specific kids during your lifetime, some of which we've had the pleasure of meeting at your, what do we want to call it? The family farm in Elliott, Maine? Or should we call
Yeah.
what do we want to call it? Is that your hobby ranch? I mean, what would we call the farm in Maine?
Well, it's our home. I just happen to have 250 grapevines and a winery, 600 lavender plants, beehives, and a lot of other things. It's what they used to call it, a gentleman's farm. It's a hobby that has consumed me, basically.
Well, we're consuming. I mean, every time I'm there, we eat really well. So I have to say, by disclosure, folks, I mean, when we go to Elliott, Maine to visit, the food is really great. In fact, what I've learned from Rick's wife, Janae, is that I've never eaten so much lavender in my life because I thought it was a flower or bush or something. I don't, I'm obviously very ignorant about this stuff. Next thing I know, I'm eating lavender infused stuff. I particularly like the cookies, actually. But I mean, I would just tell you, having a sweet tooth, lavender infused cookies. So in Rick's diverse life, and I'm kidding with him a little bit because he's had sort of a circuitous, crazy route to where we are today. And Rick and I met a number of years ago when he was working with a big corporation that shall remain nameless, and I was just a regular old, insurance broker, an investment guy doing, health and benefits and blah blah blah. And we met, and like a lot of things in life, we hit it off. And at the time, I think Rick was living a few miles away, and we would get together, and I had the great pleasure of number one, watching him multitask, holding a party, talking to people, and tying flies in his own living room. I thought that was kind of interesting. And Rick is a really experienced fly fisherman, and I've had the great pleasure to see him in the past take his mom and dad out on this big old Airstream motorhome to go fly fishing and watch them carry the fish in the front door. And his mom had the frying pan on, and it was a pretty fun looking fly fishing trip for the Miller family. That's all. It looks like it from a guy looking at it from the outside. It looked to me like it was a hell of a good time. Also, I will say, I was just with my daughter Bianca and her husband John, and one of Bianca's favorite stories in life is uh, during her sort of, I would say, abridged ski career. She had the privilege of watching Rick ski backwards from the top of J Peak when she froze up getting off the lift at about 6 or 7. I think she was really a little squirt. And I think the altitude and the situational awareness got to her, and she froze up. And between Rick's legs, he skied down backwards, and she just like shook like a leaf the whole way down. But anyway, so that gives you a little bit of flavor for some of the diverse sort of things that we've encountered in our lives. So we met, and so Rick, I think somewhere along the way, you were so smart about money that you decided to help other people with money.
And that's what I did. And actually, Paul kind of talked me into coming into the financial services business. Once I had this money from the buyouts, I actually started a financial advisory firm, and Paul and I actually worked together for a while. And then I came up to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, to escape the city life of Boston. I've been very fortunate that that career has allowed me to help people. And my focus, unlike the standard in the industry, instead of trying to work with wealthy people, I grew up without money. And so I like to focus my practice for the last 30 years on helping working people who don't really have the resources available. And they do now, but that's been my focus. But along with that, we talk about how do we really give? All right. And I look at a number of different ways that people with money and without money can really give. The first thing that I did, and I was fortunate to have a number of wealthy clients who agreed with my approach to life, and they insisted that they would bring some of their friends to work with me, and I would make my money on them so that I could continue to help others. So I found myself over the last 30 years doing almost 40% of my clients on a pro bono basis. So now that's difficult. It's hard to find partners who want to work when you're giving away half of the revenues, but that's the way I worked. The other thing I found was very interesting was if you do own a business, you can use marketing as a form of charitable giving. We call it cause marketing. This is the kind of thing I did with the Ben and Jerry's folks with Tom's of Maine, where you can actually use some of your profits or you use your products to give away at fundraising events. In the early 80s, my first wife and I had a graphic design business in the Empire State Building of New York City. And as a result, we had a number of very talented young gay men who were working with us. And nobody knew about AIDS in the early 80s. It wasn't really discovered until 84. Well, I found out after I had moved to New England that by 1990, all of these young men had died from AIDS. So that's all, and they were just wonderful people to work with, very creative. So that's always been something that stuck with me because of the personal loss. So I did things with my soft drink company, like donating hundreds of cases of soft drinks to the AIDS walk in Boston each year and working on projects similar to that. I'm also very oriented toward children. I always wanted a family. I thought maybe 2 or 3 was going to be great. For some reason, it never worked out that I had natural children of my own. So I found another way of giving was I started adopting. And at 52, I really started building my family. I now have 9 children, 8 of which are adopted. One is the daughter that my wife brought into our family. So this is another way that people can do things. I also volunteer a lot. I love to bake. My wife is a high-end Michelin level chef, but I've been baking since I was 4 years old. So every Wednesday night, we have a couple large ovens and large mixers at the house. I bake 200 loaves of bread every Wednesday night for the Thursday soup kitchen lunches for our soup kitchens here in Portsmouth. So, we talk about volunteering, and we also have that luncheon. There's probably 30 people, most of them retired, who volunteer and cook this lunch and make everything possible.
You know what's interesting, Rick, is that you mentioned this a few times, and I just want to interject because, there's a lot to be said for the non-Bill Gates, non-Warren Buffett, charitable sort of intent. Because there are a lot of people who have modest means and they want to find a way to help. And I will say, having grown up in our era, and I want to just highlight this organization because there are some that are really good. I want to highlight this organization because of something that they did. And many people that are boomers know Salvation Army. And Salvation Army is a great organization that's done an incredible amount of good work among, let's say, people with economic stress. Okay. And also, what's interesting about it is they really pioneered the idea. They were the first to actually tell people, you could give us a little bit of money and we will pay you a little bit of interest on that money. And then when you're gone someday, whatever's left over goes to us at the Salvation Army for charitable works. They actually invented what's called the Charitable Gift Annuity Program, which, we'll explain a little bit more how sophisticated that's become. But the number, it's interesting to note. Do you know what the size of the average charitable gift annuity is with Salvation Army? It's $5,200. So people of modest means say, I'd like to help this organization, but I can't really give up the interest, that I'm kind of living on in my modest retirement. So they hand over a little money to a charity of choice. Now, of course, Salvation Army isn't the only one, but you hand over a little bit of money to either a charity like Salvation or the charity that you build yourself. You get income on it the rest of your life. But you know what? What's great is you get some tax advantages and you do well and you get a deduction, and that's what we call doing well while you're doing good. But in the end, it's a way for an organization like Salvation Army to capture thousands, literally millions of what we call mini donors, folks who can only afford to give away a little bit amount of money and they want to do some good. So in your world, Rick, where you work with a lot of maybe more moderately affluent people. You established a charitable trust for yourself. Did you also do charitable trusts for your clientele?
No, I didn't do it for my clientele, but one of the things I've helped a lot of our clients with is find what we call directed charitable organizations. In particular, in this seacoast region of New Hampshire, around Portsmouth, we have the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. Now, it's a wonderful place that if you don't have a lot of money and you can send some money to this organization and you can direct it to the types of charities that you like to work with. So in my particular case, I'm all about children's health and education. So I can send money to the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation. It's a charitable gift, but I can say, would you please make sure that this goes to the children's health programs? And they have a list of
Great.
people to do that. And it's interesting that the people I know that donate to this directed giving program are anywhere from friends who have worked on the assembly line or work at the Portsmouth shipyard to Tom, my one friend, inherited one of the largest chemical companies in the world. And he found himself with $15 billion that he had to work with. And of course, once you get involved with charitable work, you find there's an enormous amount of administration that really complicates things. And these organizations have the administration and the boots on the ground to make it happen. So your money goes almost directly to the programs, without a bunch of overhead. So a number of people, wealthy and of modest means, use these organizations because they can do things very efficiently. So that's one way of doing charitable giving. Another thing that is possible, if you've had a business or you've had accumulated a very large IRA over your lifetime, the IRS laws allow you to give up to $100,000 from your IRA to a charitable organization. Now, if you take that money out, you're going to have to pay income taxes on it. But if you donate $100,000 from your IRA to the charity, neither you nor the charity pays the income tax. And so we get one over on the government, which we always love to do.
Well,
Another,
you're just making a list, and I'm going to tell our editors when they're doing the graphics for this, Rick, we're going to list all of these different devices, and I want everybody to sort of stay tuned to the end of this because, as a reminder, we're going to have some contact information there about how you get more information. But so far, because we're moving kind of rapidly through it, and Rick's an expert on this, so he's going to talk 60 miles an hour, and we're going 25 miles an hour. So number one, he talked about directed giving. Number two, he talked about the community foundations, of which there's many. Number three, he just talked about what we call QCDs, qualified charitable distribution, which comes off of your RMD, right? You don't have to pay taxes on it. And we're going to get to a few more, but I wanted to just remind everybody there's actually 6 different devices from charitable gift annuities, charitable lead trusts, charitable remainder, all these different things, which we will list at the end with a description for you. But I wanted to interrupt Rick before he got too far of everybody else who might be making notes. But go ahead, Rick. You can turn the spigot on again. Start
all
gushing.
right. So, and now the one thing that I've used both personally and uh, it's something I use with our clients, and it's really an area that Paul is kind of an expert in and has been all his life. And that's you can use life insurance to actually leverage and multiply the size of your gift. Now, one of the things that we do, I think you'll see occasionally people will like leave their house to the church if they've been widowed or something like that. But what we find, if you've got a little extra cash, what you can do is you can buy a life insurance policy on yourself, and the beneficiary becomes the charity that you want. Now, most of the charities really promote this a lot, but it's a very viable way to leverage your gift and your charitable giving. Even more importantly, if you're still married, uh, there is a type of life insurance policy that becomes even less costly called a survivorship life, or we call it the second to die policy. The life insurance doesn't pay when the first of you dies, but it waits and pays when the second person dies. As a result, the calculations insurance companies use say the probability that they have to pay out is extended way into the future. So the life insurance policy itself becomes much more affordable, and you can get a very large policy for a relatively modest amount of premiums. So instead of giving 5,000 each year, to the charity, you could put 5,000 into a life insurance policy that might end up paying $500,000 to the charity, when you're gone. So
Yeah,
that's
that is,
another.
I'll interrupt Rick again. And that general category that he's talking about, by the way, folks, is not lifetime giving. We call that bequest giving. Bequest can come in the form of a house, a chunk of money, or I have to say, by way of disclosure, I've done this myself. I actually bought an insurance policy, paid the premium on it. That insurance policy is worth about 6 times what I paid. So imagine this: 100,000 becomes 600,000. And that 600,000, by the way, goes 100% to the charity. And I actually got a big old tax deduction for writing the check for 100,000. So that's a bequest. That's not a lifetime gift because it's deferred giving. They're going to give it when you pass away, but it's a super good way to do what Rick, as a financial professional, calls leverage, which is the famous Malcolm Forbes thing, which is if I have $100,000 bill, I'd rather get an insurance company 50,000, have them pay 100,000 for me. That's Malcolm Forbes. So Rick, so charitable bequests with insurance, QCDs, people who sell businesses. Now, tell me what we've been doing lately around here. It seems like there's a lot of appreciated real estate that people own. A little, we just did a little building which had 3 dentists in it, and the clients paid almost nothing for it. But guess what? That little building with a couple of dentists had a price tag of like $1.2 million, and the client would have paid a lot of money in income taxes. So what we did is we took a portion of the building. We did what's called a split title. We took a little bit of the building, like 30%, and we put that into a charitable trust, that 30% after the sale, that 300,000 goes to the charity, but the deduction for that wiped out all the taxes on the other 900,000. So doing a real estate split title where you take a little piece, if you have a 4-story building, you give away 1 story to charity, sell the other 3 stories for free. Those are very sophisticated, and actually, because of the environment today, what's craziness is, we used to say only do this if your real estate's $1 million or more. Well, everybody's real estate's $1 million or more. I mean, it's my brother just sold his home, and he's shocked that every first-time home buyer right now is paying an average of $789,000 in Massachusetts for a starter home, a first-time buyer home. So this is another one of those products that's dropped down from the world of the very, very affluent to the world of just a regular old, hardworking retired person who wants to do something good and also save some taxes. And get, as Rick says, get over on Uncle Sam a little bit. So, Rick, tell us a few more examples of what you're done.
Well, and again, Paul's already mentioned the charitable trusts, things of that nature, where you can actually give money to a charity and then they will give you some money back as retirement income. These are powerful tools, and they basically run the gamut for just about many income brackets. My big charitable thing, again, is I've used my work directly. I told you I adopted 8 of my 9 children. And I find ways to leverage my dollars. We do an awful lot of work here in the US, but 6 of my children that I've adopted live in Kenya. And and my 2 daughters that live here in around the corner from me everybody's an adult, but one was born in China and one was born in Cambodia, and they were brought here as babies. So I have an affinity for helping children all over the world. And I have found that in my particular case, I have built hospitals, clinics, birthing centers in Cambodia. I used to take teams of medical professionals to do disaster relief. So when the Haiti earthquake happened, I was fortunate enough to fly a team of doctors and nurse practitioners to Haiti. We did the same thing for the China earthquake in 2008, the tsunamis. I've been fortunate to be able to do that. But for the most part, I like to focus on doing little things. And so I've built clinics in Kenya, in the slums of Nairobi. And from there, we've done other things. We found out that after saving all these little children, we needed a place for them to go to school. So we built an elementary school, a primary school. So each of you can find your own little places to do this. And I focus so much of my work on places like Africa and Cambodia in developing nations because I probably get 5 times more bang for the buck. Up until last couple of years, I could hire a physician to work in the clinic in Kenya for only $6,000 a year. Now, obviously, we can't do that in the US. But if you think in terms of how many thousands of children, not just hundreds, but thousands of children that we're able to save and grow into healthy, productive adults, we can do far more in some places of the world than we can here. I don't like to ignore, all the poverty and some things happening here, but I can do that again with more of my personal work, like baking 200 loaves of bread every week.
Well, what's interesting is, again, I just finished this wonderful discussion with Ruth Farmer, and she had a great quote for me. And I think it also applies to Rick and all charitable goes. Number 1, no gift is too small. Number 1, no gift is too small, no matter how you deploy it. If you feel like it's the right thing for you to do and the right organization or the right directed giving or the right little donor advised fund or the right little charitable foundation, no gift is too small. And she uses this number all the time, that every $2,500 investment they make in a student who's broke and completely in poverty, trying to finish their education. Every 2,500 produces 2.5 million of earnings that goes into the economy. They're, as they say in The Wonderful Life, a productive, happy, working, professional that's paying taxes and taking care of others. And you know what happens? What's amazing is when you help organizations, it gets paid forward. In fact, their largest number of continuing to contributors now they helped 13,000 students this year. And of the 13,000, 40% give back, which is, the flywheel of giving, right? So Rick, when you've been working in this charitable area, right? Have you done a lot of work? And I want to talk about retirees because we do see a lot of retirees, and because of our age, you'll notice that Rick and I have a similar hair color. Because of our age, we end up with a lot of folks that are suddenly single. And life changes. When you're aging and you're having a lot of fun and you're going on ski trips and fly fishing trips to Yellowstone and doing all this kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden a single person has a different perspective on life, which includes, by the way, the fact that usually their tax structure is much more significant. I mean, single people pay more taxes than married couples do. And then also there's a security issue. So we've been using some of these devices. And I have to give a plug to the Michael J. Fox Foundation because I have it right in front of me, the last one we did. So Michael J. Fox, has Parkinson's. And we have a number of clients that have Parkinson's. Also, I've done a lot of pro bono work for the MS Society. One of our key people in our organization has MS. And so we like to home in on some of the organizations that are searching for cures in areas that are very difficult. The neurological areas are really difficult. Well, anyway, the Michael J. Fox Foundation, we just did a charitable, what's called LEAD, LEAD, LEAD Trust, where one of our clients sold a very big holding. They bought one stock years ago that became worth $1 million, and it only cost them like 75,000. So they had a problem. But we were able to create this trust and we sold that stock and paid no taxes. Okay, so that was a big win. And that trust is paying out $50,000 a year to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for the next 5 years. That's 250,000 is going to the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And then our clients get back the full $1 million tax-free. So let me just say, talk about a win-win. This is a way where rather than selling the stock, paying capital gains, ending up with, 300,000 or 400,000 disappearing. This is a way where you can take your tax dollars and send them to a place that you want rather than giving them to the government and let the government send them to a place that they want. This is a really significant tax strategy, and again, let me just bring it out and down. This applies to everybody now. Here we are in 2026. I mean, there's a lot of folks who've been very fortunate. I mean, we've been blessed. Lynn and I have been in business 50 years. We got a pretty much healthy family and everything is great. But, we're not investment millionaires. We just happened to buy property 30 years ago. And, as they say, you can't even afford your own house today. I mean, things just got more affluent, things just got bigger. But these trusts and these organizations like Michael J. Fox and their foundation, when you talk about administration, they pay all the costs, all the legal drafting, all the documentation. They do everything for a person who wants to give them, 5% a year for 5 years. That's a really good deal for them, and it's a great, great deal for the clients. So Rick, among your retiree group, or let's say the suddenly single group, do you see a lot of charitable activity among the widows and the widowers?
It becomes more difficult because their fear of not having enough, their focus changes, you know,
Yep.
and that becomes difficult. And there's also many of them start to feel feelings of isolation. They stop seeing people, and again, they are really frightened about, do they have enough? And it's surprising how many people have $2-3 million and they're terrified that they're going to run out of money and not have enough money to take care of their health care.
Yeah, healthcare
So
is a big issue. I will tell you, the reason that I bring it up is we just recently had a widow come in, and she lost her husband. And when someone becomes suddenly single and they're a retired couple, you lose one Social Security payment. It goes away.
Right.
And so she really felt that literally in the first month. She went from getting like, $6,000 a month into her account, went down to 3,000. So she was, as Rick said, a little, however, it's just her. And she had very, very good treatment at a local hospital in the greater Boston area. And I will just say, as Linda's big sister always says, who's in medicine, if you get sick, have the ambulance take you to the airport because Boston has the best medical treatment in the world. So she got great treatment for her husband. So what we did was we took a chunk of money and we did a kind of trust that duplicated the Social Security for her husband. She put in a few hundred thousand. She gets $30,000 a year. It's actually called a remainder trust. So she's guaranteed to get that 30,000 forever and ever, ever. Amen. And if there's any money left over at the end of her life, that's going to go to this hospital that took care of her husband. So that's a reverse thing. That's where she gets the money. It's a Social Security replacement. It made her feel like, okay, now I've got good cash flow again. And yet, at the same time, she knows when she's gone, who knows what's going to be left? They call it the residuum or the leftovers. Whenever there's a trust that has a remainder, they're going to get something. We just don't know exactly what it is. And she gets to satisfy her emotional goal and her economic goal at the same time. So it was a really big win for a retired single individual. So Rick, let's talk about like one or two last things before I let you off, because I know we're using up a lot of your valuable time. So right now you're doing some financial work, and I know that you, like me, are in the slowing down phase, our Act Two, Act Three phase, right? And you're doing some financial work, some charitable work, and also I think you ought to brag on your wife a little bit. Your beautiful wife. We've had the pleasure to eat some of her cooking and look at some of her crafts. Tell us what's going on at Hidden Meadows, which is the real name, by the way, folks, of where he lives. Hidden Meadows
Well,
Farm.
yeah, Hidden Meadows is the name of our home. It's a small farm where we grow lavender. And again, I have 250 grapevines, so a small winery. I love to brew
Excellent
beer.
beer. Excellent beer, folks. But I'm just putting a plug in if you're in Elliott, Maine at the right season, right? Yeah, go ahead.
So it's interesting because, again, if you talk about charitable work, one of the things, actually, the way I met my wife is I was a single guy with this beautiful home and farm, and I used it to host international guests. I basically ran my home like a free bed and breakfast for years. And I was hosting about 50 people a year from all over the world. Well, sometime in 2008 and then again in 2009, my wife actually was a guest along with her former husband. And then she returned with her mother in 2013 and somehow informed me that she had been single for 3 years. And coincidentally, the stars fell into alignment.
Well,
So,
you also hosted a lot of students and workers, and I wanted you to explain a little bit about the J6 students and working on the farm.
well, and I still do. I'm very active. Our hospitality industry in the United States would not survive without the use of foreign student labor. Here in New England and in the summer resort areas, we have students that come under a visa program called the J1 visa, and it allows them to work at seasonal businesses for 3 months and travel up to a month. So it's a 4 month visa. I find most of the students actually uh, will work the entire 4 months and work as much overtime as possible. We actually converted our former horse barn into a beautiful entertainment center and almost apartment complex. So each year we house 4 to 6 of these J1 students and charge them barely anything for rent. And I have a fleet of 20 bicycles that I loan to these students to get back and forth to work and around town. And we do little things. We'll have about 135 of these students working in our community each summer. So Janae and I always host a large pool party and barbecue for the students. But this is another way you can volunteer. There's so many ways um, to help people. And again, in places like Colorado and the ski resorts, in the winter, the students come from South America because it's their summer and they're off in our winter times, and they come to work in the ski resorts. In the summer, we get a lot of students from Eastern Europe, from Romania, from Poland. We used to get students from Russia, but not anymore. But it's a wonderful way to give. And for those people, especially, let's talk about seniors who find themselves alone. They have a home, and the worst thing is to allow themselves to become isolated and lose the interaction with other people. A wonderful way to help is to find one of these students and give them a place to stay with them. We encourage a lot of our retirees and our single folks to do that. And it's just a wonderful way to get an interaction with somebody, again, from another country. They do speak English, but it also takes some of that loneliness away. And, it's hard to find a widow in this country that doesn't want to bake and cook and gush over somebody.
Well, let me
And
tell you, I have
it's either
been
their
there.
grandchildren, and if they don't have grandchildren nearby, this is a great opportunity
Yeah,
for
I'm
an
going to
outlet.
tell everybody that they can reach out to Rick, because I will tell you, I've been there. And again, this is another good doing well while doing good. I mean, Rick mentioned it sort of in sliding by, but as Mike Bloomberg said, former mayor of New York, he said, you couldn't run a hospital, a hotel, a restaurant without the hardworking immigrant labor that supports our hospitality industry. But in Rick's case, I think I'm gonna sort of wrap this up with a couple of factoids. It's not like they don't work hard and Hidden Meadows doesn't get something out of it. I mean, how many tulip bulbs did you guys plant?
Oh, we have over 30,000 tulips.
30,000. Okay.
Daffodils,
Yeah,
30,000 daffodils in bloom.
daffodils. Yeah. So this is another way that you can do something, which is, it's a win-win. I mean, you're helping young students, right? If you have
Yeah.
a project for them and they can get a J-1 visa, it's helping the business, it helps the community. And again, I've been there. I've eaten the food they grow, drank the wine they made. I mean, I've had the great experience of experiencing some of the Hidden Meadows product. Let's just call it product, because they are in business and they have some great product. But I want to just summarize this. This has been great, and I know we're at the end of our time. So Ric Miller, who's living in Elliott, Maine, and his office is in Portsmouth. We're going to have some contact info there, and then our editors are going to be good enough to list all the different types of charitable things. We talked about a bunch. I knew there was going to be a big list. Everything from J1s to charitable gifts to donor advised funds to QCDs to lead trusts to remainder trusts. There's a lot of ways that you can actually do charitable giving. And to go back to my friend Bruce, I mean, no amount of money is too small. No little effort you put out is too small. And in fact, I'm doing an interview with a fellow who's actually retired from Blue Cross Blue Shield, who was a health and wellness counselor. And Charles is going to be talking about something that Rick just mentioned, which is the great value of doing something productive in your life for your not only your mental health, but remember the mind body connection. Your brain is talking to your body all day long. And if you're happy between the ears, you have a tendency to feel better and everything goes better. So, you can get a lot of joy out of helping other people and seeing a productive result. I know I get a lot of joy when I visit Hidden Meadows and have some of that home brewed beer. I think beer, wine, I forget whatever you get. The food up there is great. I don't want to like overload you, but when we get done, we'll have a little tagline at the bottom of this for Rick and Janae's product line, of which a large percentage, I'm sure, goes into charitable good works. So we want to plug that, right? And I want to thank Ric Miller for joining us. I'm going to send him off on his way to do more good work. And for those of you, again, that ever want to contact anyone on one of our podcasts, You can follow along on all things on the screen. But of course, if you reach out to us at Smart Financial, I know, as they say, where he lives, right? And it's very easy for us to put you in touch with Rick, especially if you're a person that's considering doing either help abroad or a J1, or you're thinking about your charitable options. That would be a great idea to talk to Rick because he has sort of this, like, literally whole world experience, everything from micro givers to some of the major givers, and how those big charitable plans work. So, thanks, Rick, for giving us a little
Okay.
bit of your time today, right? And we'll see you again next time on Smart Financial.
Thank you.